Sunday 11th of June 2023. In this delivery I've got quite a few interesting things for you, but it is Sunday. Let's look at some news. And before we look at the news, let's just take a moment and see what the Russians are fighting for. Russia has more than 100 nature reserves protected by the state. Their surface area, excluding water area, exceeds 270,000 square kilometers. And they are located all across the country, in tundra, in taiga, and in permanent ice. Enjoy. That is a spectacular country. I would love to visit it, and it would be great to go on a photo safari there. But let's get to the news. And first up, this guy belongs in jail for censoring information that could have prevented many people being harmed by authoritarian acts and which could have saved people's lives. He acted immorally and people died. I agree with that. It is absolutely amazing how we were censored and kept away from information. And this guy is one of the big players in it. Something should happen to him. Then we get to the Donbass, and it's about that dam. And listen what this guy says. The facts are very clear. Novakhovka dam wall was designed to withstand a nuclear blast from the outside. It was designed to last 1,000 years. It was not designed to withstand hundreds of kilograms of explosive inside the turbine chambers. And the Ukrainian propaganda says that this guy in the image, he is the engineer, a Russian engineer, that headed the team that blew up the dam. They will just not let it go. They want us to believe Russia blew up its own dam. Just like Russia blew up its own pipelines and Russia attacked its own Kremlin with its own drones. All those things. We remember it well. And then we get more on that dam. And this is from German Warfare, and he says, yes, Russia blew up its own dam, just like they blew up its own pipelines. In unrelated news, Russia plans to blow up its own parliament, and after that its own cities. And there at the bottom you can see there's a picture of Putin on a whale going to blow the dam. I can't understand it. But the propaganda machine never stops. Then we get to something more tangible and horrible. Kiev lost 1,000 troops and dozens of tanks in one day. The Ukrainian forces have lost up to 1,240 troops and 39 tanks during one 24-hour period. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported in its latest daily update on Friday. I'm not going to read all of it, but now there will be people that say, yeah, but this is from the Russian Ministry of Defense. Now, all I can say is that over the past more than a year, many analysts have confirmed that when the Russian Ministry of Defense issues statements and numbers, you can trust it. And one of the reasons is that the Russians know how the Western propaganda machine works, and if they should dare to publish a lie that could be proven a lie, the press will have a royal time with it. And more 4 more Ukrainian Leopard tanks destroyed. The Russian military has destroyed 9 Ukrainian tanks, including 4 German-made Leopard 2s, as it successfully repelled attempts at advancing by Kiev forces, Russia's Ministry of Defense has said. It's not going well for the Ukrainians, and I mentioned in a previous Skidmark that there are now commentators that are blaming the propaganda machine of Washington and Kiev for misleading those soldiers and making them believe that they can walk over the Russians. And then we get to this, and these are the type of things that makes me angry, and this is the things that if you support the Ukraine and Pestelensky, this is what you support. The Kiev regime decided to hit a temporary accommodation center for people evacuated from the flooded areas in Kherson region. Presumably the nationalists hit the center with British Storm Shadow missiles. A woman died, said acting governor of the Kherson region. And I've seen other reports earlier this morning where there was more photographs and so of that attack. It is really. This is the people that has been saved from the flooded areas, and the Ukrainians think it's a good plan to shoot them with missiles. But will they ever be called up for war crimes? No, because they are most the West's pet poodles. And then more from that dam. And this was quite hilarious. Ukrainian TV show footage of Russian emergency ministry work to rescue local residents in Kherson region. Kiev threatens guilty with mass dismissals. Now, they made a balls up. They used this as a promo and a propaganda thing against Russia. And what they didn't realize is all those workers there, the t-shirts and uniforms and overalls and jackets, had the Russian emblem on from the Russian emergencies operations. And after it was aired widely and spread widely, the Ukrainians realized they made a major mistake. Now, Zelensky wants to fire the whole TV crew. A bit late, I would think. And then there's a little tweet about Ukrainian military destroyed 2 Leopards. A day ago, during the movement of the tank column of Leopards, a Ukrainian tankman made an involuntary shot with a standard gun. A 120mm shell destroyed the Leopard moving ahead and significantly damaged the next German tank. So, they are shooting themselves. But I read more commentary around this post in which the guy said it is just not possible to train a tank crew to use these machines in 3 weeks or 6 weeks. It's impossible. And then we have this, as usual, the memes are all over the place, and look at this one. There is the Ukraine, in the top, the Ukrainians charging with their Leopards, and here at the bottom on a Russian tent hangs the skins. The next one is about our South Africa, and the minister was busted because she overcharged Eskom 15 billion rand for oil in 2019 and continues doing so. This is exactly the person Andre de Ruyter is talking about, and Gwedi Mantashe and Praveen Gordhan knows about. And then the main picture says South Africans waiting for prosecutions of corrupt politicians. My opinion, those skeletons will turn to powder. And more on the Eskom thing. Organized sabotage of our country's power is not the Eskom problem. It is paid for by foreign countries into the hands of our corrupt government and ministries. South African Just Energy Transition Investment Plan. That is something that should make you very angry. That the people that are supposed to manage and protect our country are involved in its destruction. That's treason. And then we have this. Canada has stolen a Russian plane which was on a Canadian territory delivering COVID vaccines and will hand it over to Ukraine. Interesting thing really, the normalization of open theft. Let's see how that all works out. And the headline was, Canada confiscated the Russian AN-124 for its transfer to Ukraine. This is really absolutely unbelievable how the West, in a matter of a year and a half, had turned into common thieves, stealing Russians' assets, stealing Russian foreign assets, stealing everything Russian they can lay their hands on. Plain common theft. But they are absolutely relentless, without remorse, just continue. But unfortunately for them, all this stealing is beginning to bite them, because the other countries seize this and say, we don't want any part of this. And then we have this from Uganda, and you must not look at it and think about it. And could it be fake? I wouldn't know. I've tried to confirm, but all I see is this thing all over the show. But I think it is a brilliant plan. Ugandan couples sent to prison by their president. He ordered that they be there until one of them becomes pregnant. Oh boy, I think they are going to sit forever. But they should do this more. I like it. And this one is, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can stop it to read it. But this is verses from the Bible talking about this gender thing. In Leviticus 18:22, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Now, I have spoken about this a few times, and I've had very hot arguments with Germanies and so in my past on this point specifically. And it is absolutely amazing and stunning how they argue these things to be irrelevant and not applicable today. Absolutely stunning. And I mean, it's simple. It's not a complicated one sentence. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Not a sin, abomination. Think about that. And then we get to this. I read it and I shook my head. Iraq agreed to pay about 2.75 billion in debt to Iran for gas and electricity after receiving US approval for the transfer. US sanctions on Iranian oil and gas hurt Iraq's import payments and forced Iran to cut its gas supply to the country. What the hell is that? But I've listened to another commentator, and she said, the sanctions. I mean, she had a map there. More than a third of the world's countries is currently under US sanctions. And the aim of the sanctions is to make the leadership change their minds or get rid of the leadership. But the people, the ordinary citizens, are the ones that are suffering. That is the reality. I am absolutely over the moon about what the BRICS is doing and what they are planning for the future. And so BRICS is going to break the sanction weapon into pieces. And then we've got another meme, and look at that, environmentalism. And look at that, as far as the eye can see, solar panels. And the bottom picture, ruining the environment. Look at that. Make it sink in. Think about that. And then I saw this, and it's from Sweden, and I just shook my head. You must keep in mind that the natural Swedes are no longer the majority in their own country. Swedish Prime Minister, mass immigration doesn't work. They have to go back. Announces a set of policies that will make Sweden the strictest nation state in the EU on immigration. Well, good luck to him. Ursula von der Crazy is not going to accept this. She will put a stop to this intention. But the whole of Europe is in the same boat. Their ethnic culture is going to disappear. It's already happening in England also, and in France, look at it, and in Germany, look at what's going on there on the streets. And all because of immigration. And then we get to Medvedev. Now, there's a lot of people talk about a regime change in Moscow and so forth. The West could thank their lucky stars that this guy is no longer the president of Russia, because Medvedev is not the same type of guy that Putin is. Medvedev is actually very aggressive. American authorities are responsible for the deaths of millions of people in the conflicts of recent decades that were caused by Washington. No major regional conflict in recent decades has occurred without the direct or indirect participation of American benefactors. The result of this is the deaths of millions of people, said Medvedev. According to him, the responsibility for the deaths of these people lies with American presidents, administrations, and Congress. And after all this, Biden and other hypocrites have the nerve to criticize Russia for its actions to protect its own compatriots and its historical territories. Who are you to open your filthy mouths? Just close them. And that is typical classical Medvedev. And then we get to another meme. Look at that. This is further proof that the press hides important details from the public eye. And isn't that so true? Look at that. I can't believe it. In front of our eyes. And another meme that you must now look at and enjoy. I loved chicks from the 70s. No tattoos, no nose rings, no Kool-Aid hair, and no penises. Isn't that true? Now we're going serious again. And this is from Kim.com. The problem with propaganda is that brainwashed armies believe the lies of their leaders and totally underestimate the strength of the opponent. The propagandists at the Pentagon and the Western media have Ukrainian blood all over their hands. Always remember that. And that is so true. And we are seeing it playing out in the Ukraine. Now we're getting to a topic that is dangerous for me. I need you to look at that image and read as much as you can. You can stop the video if you want to read it properly. But this is a report from Vera Weierman, a member of the humanitarian and monitoring mission of the OSCE in Ukraine between 2019 and 22. And she had collected information on underground labs. I looked at that video. It is absolutely shocking of what is being done. Children by the Kiev regime. And then there was this report from Russell, Texas. Bentley, he's an American that has immigrated to the Donbass a long time ago already. And he says, this is real. The evidence is overwhelming and has been around since 2015 at least. Ukraine is the world's #1 supplier of black market human organs in the world today and has been for years. This is not even really news. Anyone who doubts it is a fucking fool. This is what Nazis, Satanists, cannibal, pedophiles do. This is who, what and why we fight. This is Armageddon, the final battle of evil against humanity. And everyone in this world today is either on one side or the other. There is no neutrality. And what you say or what you think doesn't mean shit. It's only what you do that counts. Get to work. I'm telling you, this is shocking shit that's going on there. My question has always been, what the hell is in the Ukraine that the West is so desperate to keep hidden, that they are willing to bankrupt their countries and disarm themselves? For what? Don't tell me to support a guy that is fighting for his national borders. Don't tell me that shit. No, the West has never fought for the right reasons. It's always for money. And there is things in the Ukraine that they know if it comes out, it will be not good for them. So think about that. And then we've got another meme, this one. You can stop it and look at it if you want to see more. But look at the top part, whites without blacks, and the bottom part, blacks without whites. Call me a racist, but that's true. And then we get to this. This is absolutely amazing. Iran's robot surgeon saves people's lives, outperforming the US counterpart. Cutting-edge surgery is now being performed by computers, with Iranian engineers at the forefront of such work as robot surgeons outdo their American counterparts. I am every day more astounded by the things that I read about Iran. But it is the same story with Iran. Just as all information was kept away from us about Russia, real information, and all the bullshit we're being fed by about what is China, same thing to Iran. There was no news out of Iran. And all of a sudden we realized this is a bloody strong industrial country, and they've got skills and knowledge there and doing amazing things. And now we get this robot surgeon. And then we get to something that is just confirming how evil the West really is. Right before the US invasion of Afghanistan, and immediately after it, opium production was virtually eliminated. During the occupation, opium cultivation reached its highest levels in history. Look at that graph there. The Taliban stopped the opium production, and then the American army stopped the Taliban. And then the American army is in charge, and look at how the opium production jumps. Now if you look at the graph, you just have to shake your head. But they're doing the same shit in South America. CIA are participating there in the drug problems. And there is more on that. Kabul. New satellite images show 99% reduction in poppy cultivation in Afghanistan after the Taliban took over. In Helmand province, which was the biggest producer of poppy in the world, is now home to wheat crop. There's a satellite images showing what it does. And then we've got more on that. The Taliban eradicates poppy cultivation in Afghanistan. The Taliban has carried out truly unprecedented reductions in poppy cultivation in 2023, according to a new analysis published by the ALCUS, a UK-based geographic information service firm. Detailed examination of the high-resolution imagery by the firm demonstrates a drastic decline in poppy cultivation in Helmand province, shrinking from 120,000 hectares in 2022 to less than 1,000 hectares in 2023. This reduction marks the largest ever recorded in the country, surpassing the decline observed when the Taliban prohibited poppy production in 2000, just prior to the ousting following the 2001 US invasion. While the Taliban announced the poppy cultivation ban in April 2022, they permitted the harvest of the poppy crops planted in the fall of 2021. This decision was aimed to avoid triggering widespread unrest. Good for them. Good for them. And then we have this from the UK. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and it's about Bojo the clown that quit it. And I listened to Alex from the Duran, and he made a good statement, and he read an article that he has seen, and the general opinion is that Boris resigned so that he will be in charge of writing the book on how his career ended, and he will claim it was ended by conspiracy or what, because he knows he will not win an election, and being rejected by the electorate would be embarrassing. So it's a stunt. But another victim of the Zelensky curse. And the Zelensky curse has hit this guy twice. First out as Prime Minister, now out as Member of Parliament. Maybe he'll stay out now. And then we have this. This is from America. More people go homeless as inflation rises in the US, and if some states have full-time shelters, there's nothing like this in the Ocean County, New Jersey. If you lose your home, you go to sleep on the street, in public parks, forests, and abandoned houses. The homeless people say the US authorities take no care about them. Social services don't help either. Now, my question is just this. The American government has zero problem in pumping billions into Ukraine. Billions! But they don't help their own citizens. They don't maintain their own infrastructure. They don't invest in their own economy. They spend billions and billions on destabilizing other countries, making war in other countries, and then whatever is left of the budget is pumped into the military industrial complex to build more war machines. When is the American citizens going to wake up and realize their government do not care about them? Think about that. And then we get to something that makes my blood boil. WEF bans natural conception. All babies must be lab grown by 2030. Listen to that. All babies must be lab grown by 2030. Genetically modified the works. How the hell is it possible that people like this maniac can still walk around freely and appear on stages and get television interviews and travel freely? And how is that possible? If you went out for dinner and you came back to your home and you open your door and there's a mamba on the floor, first instinct from you will be to kill that snake. That's the first instinct. And then maybe once you're over the shock, you might reconsider it and take a step back and phone a snake catcher. But bottom line is that snake must be out of your house. You are not going to live in that house with that snake. So I'm asking, why do we have to live in a world that's got creatures like this walking amongst us? And then we've got this, and this is just a little bit blast from the past. And the guy says, ek het baie respect vir die toppies, hulle kon ons veiligheid waarborg. I've got a lot of respect for the old guys. They could guarantee our safety. And if you look at that image, you see there, it says, these colors don't run. And now we get to that point, something for the guys. And the first one is a beautiful blonde, and it's really a pretty girl. And she's having a cup of coffee. And then we get to this one, which is a little bit more dramatic, but still a lot of impact. Really dramatic shot that, I like it. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.